Oh, hi everybody. Right, I'll turn the heater off. Oh, right, adjust the hair because that's just looking crazy. Right, that'll do for now. Alright, who have we got here? Alright, we've got Zed. We've got me there saying it's freezing. We've got Tim and we've got Graham. Now let me get my notes up here. And coffee. I need my coffee. Oh, it's -6. Oh, hey. There's some snow outside. That's really cold, isn't it? I think -8 is the only time I've known it to be as cold. But yeah, -6, pretty good. I need to move to LA or somewhere like that where it's just warm all the time. I'm assuming it's warm in LA all the time. It's warming up a bit there. Yeah. Oh, that's good, Tim. I wonder what temperature it is. Where are you from? Manchester is -8. Oh, yeah. Oh, and there's Kevin. Wow, it only seems like, it was only 8 hours since my last stream. But a very different stream to this one, that's for sure. So we are continuing with the talks that I was doing. Basically, this is the second from the penultimate talk on building conditions for success. All right, so we've had environment, habits, decisions, fear, boredom, and its skills today. So a lot of the time, from a coaching point of view, yeah, there's your homie. Coming home from work. So skill focuses. What can I say about a skill focus? Right, well, all right. I think most of the people who I coach are very, very, very skill focused and come into their music thinking, right, it's all about learning. It's all about installing the skills I already have. Installing more skills and developing those skills and making those skills better because I'm not good enough. I can't do anything. I'll not be able to express myself. I'll not be able to have my voice out in the world because I'm not to the same standard as everybody else out there. And that's just, for a start, that's not true. Okay, we've all got a musical voice, and it's my job actually to help everybody utilize the skills that they've already got, so it doesn't matter if you're like super advanced and you've made lots and lots of music like I have and then you come crashing down, or whether you're almost a beginner but you've got ideas but you don't know how you're going to do it, so you think that actually maybe it is a skill focus, and the reason I'm stuck is because I need more skills to get to where I'm going. And as I've said before, I know if the zones of experience chart, when you're looking at where somebody is at with their career, with their music, quite often they're stuck on skills and don't want to move from there. I was very much like that when I was younger. And I just had to get myself going in the end, but, I spend a lot of time sitting in the bedroom going, I can't do anything till, I've got Paul Gilbert's speed. And, in one kind of sense, it served me well because I had the speed and I had some amount of technique, but I was nowhere near as good. So at some point, I just had to come out of that room swinging and playing, because otherwise I would have just been there forever doing stuff and just being somebody who is practicing scales, playing solos with absolutely zero context. Okay, so there we go, getting some identification here. Oh, thank you, Kevin. Kevin sent his viewers over, which is great. So hello to Kevin's viewers as they're coming on. That's me, right? So yeah, the skill focus. So usually, we don't need all the skills that we have. However, today I am going to look at the positive side of it, and something I'm now hearing more of is the why, what, and how. Okay, which is the correct order to do things. Why? So, why is really important, isn't it? And sometimes when we're practicing stuff on guitar, quite often, and I still slip into this, there isn't a why. I just kind of, now I'll just, I just go into things and I don't even realise I'm doing it, to be honest, and potentially I'm wasting a lot of time. And again, there's no musical context. What I am doing is I'm stuck on the how. And that's the problem, is quite often in our musical society today, there's lots of hows, isn't there? I'm going to show you how to make. I'm going to show you how to make. A Patrick Topping house track. If you're not doing one of these, if you're not doing these 5 things in your mixing process, you're doing it wrong. Lots of sort of things, setting up a template that'll basically deal with any problem that you come across, but you don't actually know what the problems are. So, as I've constantly said, as a theme running through everything, it's the problems that we want. We want to exchange really crappy problems that we'll have when we start out with much better problems that we have in our music. And fundamentally, a lot of these problems will be based on some sort of skill focus. Okay, and once we know that, then there's the why, and we can do something about it. So when we look at my skill focuses, so I've learned a lot of skill, and I'm not saying don't learn skills. This year, over the last year, I've been really heavily skill orientated. So from last year, November to November, which is when I did the yearly review on it, that's when I started to do economy picking. That's when I put the sword in the stone and went, right, I need to do this. I have to do this. I have to get this economy picking thing going regardless. And I'm going to go out on lives and I'm going to economy pick, and it's going to be bad, but at least I'll get the data and I'll be able to do it. And thank God I did it, and I needed it. And why I did it is because I wanted that technique. I didn't want to be thinking about technique. I wanted to be thinking more about the music, and I wanted to have, there was certain note grouping options across strings that I wanted to be able to access more easily. And by having that skill, what it did, it allowed me to diversify my playing. When you're playing guitar and you're doing, and I hear this quite a bit, a lot of the time you're just looking for ways of recycling what you already know, and just creating different patterns really, and different ways of facilitating those improvisational ideas. And what that came down to with me, for that to justify that move into economy picking, was that really. So there was a very, very strong why. How do I do these notes? In fact, I remember a lot of this came from a coaching game that I played, which had a profound effect. And what it was about was we were examining things that we do, playing or like production chops that you might have that you keep doing that actually annoy you now, so they'll have come from a place that was good, you do this thing and it's great and it fits, but actually becomes like something you say, like you play like a little lick that you play on guitar and you're sick of it, but you keep playing it. It's in your muscle memory and you just do it without thinking. You're like, oh God, I hate that. I hate playing that all the time. Why do I always do that? And you can't actually stop yourself from doing it. Well, that was the kind of thing, and that's what brought this kind of shift to do technique. So what I did is I listed all of those things, and then what you realise is actually those things did actually come from a place that's good, and they still are good. It's just you're sick of them for a start. That's the one thing, and because they came from this place of yes, they work, okay. It made sense to then look at these things and think, well, how can I repurpose them? How can I remodel these things? How can I change these things so I can still use the DNA, but have them rethought out? Okay. How can I create more variations on these ideas that are as different as I can get them? And that's why economy picking came in, because that was the skill that was going to get me there, because I'd already exhausted the techniques that I had. So that was by learning that gave me that just opened up a lot more doors where I could see where I was going with it. So that's why. So that luckily that was the why. But there's been lots of times in my career when it's just been a how, and like, oh, I better get this compressor. I better get this compressor because everybody's using it, and like I might use it, and then you just don't know what you don't know why you've got it, and that's the problem, So we've always got to have a why. Then it's the how you're going to do it, the what, and then how. So skills, I've kind of touched on the first thing, which was creative expansion. So that was it, by acquiring more skills, which you obtain from creating problems for yourselves, either in your music or your playing and your improvisations. That way, you're going to have more options to expand. So for me, again, economy picking, hybrid picking, on and off with that. Eventually I got that going, but that was great for, initially why I learned that was so I could string skip and I could jump across wide, I could do wide intervals, especially one note per string sort of stuff. So that was really good. And, that brings me very quickly onto adaptability, because obviously the more technique you have based on your problems, the more adaptable you are to different situations. Or if you start listening to other music, you're able to fit in a lot more easily with that context, because now you have a bigger vocabulary, don't you, that you've learned from skills. So there are a few things, but as I'm going along, do feel free to ask me questions. And the other good thing, right, about this morning is if you are, right, if there's anybody on here, and this is a really good opportunity to do this, if there's anything to do with skills that you want to ask me and you want me to show you something, okay, I will show you. Yeah. So it could be production technique, something to do with EQ, reverb, delay, modulation effects, programming a drum beat, groove. It could be something on guitar, technique. Any of those things, but do join in and ask. So that's good. I'm sure somebody will have a question. Whew, right, I need to have some of my coffee. It's quite, actually, skills is quite a hard one for me to talk about, even though like I practice all the time. And it's probably because it's the one thing I skip over, and I'm much more focused in all the other areas. simply because my own experience was that I was so focused heavily in on skills. You know, I just thought if I was just good on guitar and just skilled at that, that would get me the gigs, you know, and to a point that does work. But it just, because I didn't have habits, environment, like anything else dialed in, I was just, as I said, like reactive to situations, and that wasn't a great thing to be in. So fundamentally, it can make you quite unhappy because in terms of your career, you're not really in control of it. I used to, do I use the whammy very much? Well, it comes in phases, Gramps. I must admit. So, so whammy bar guys is obviously like the Steve Vai. But actually, the guys who I really liked whammy for were obviously Eddie Van Halen, Brad Gillis of all people. He's, I don't know if he's, I suppose, a little bit of an influence. He's like one of those secret influences you have. I think Brad Gillis out at Night Ranger was quite an underrated guitarist. You know, I think he's really, really good, and it's good to see him still go. Like, it's good to see these older guys like still playing. You know, so Brad Gillis, whammy one, and then I've got a really, really secret influence, which is Alan Murphy from Go West. So there's some old videos of him playing Alan Murphy. I don't know if you ever heard of him, British guitarist. He's dead now, unfortunately died of AIDS. Like way back in the early 90s and the 80s. But there was a British music program that was brilliant actually. It was just up the road from me. Basically, they used to do live performances and Go West on there, and he was playing, and he had solos and stuff, and like really good. I think his probably influence was like an Alan Holdsworth sort of thing. I mean, there's a lot of 80s guitar. Alan Murphy, yeah. Go West. You know, their famous song was like "Don't Look Down, Girl." Speak of the Devil, yes, it's definitely in my top 5. So I remember being very, very young and having that album. Never really getting into it, to be honest, but when I started kind of learning power chords, it was like Sex Pistols, and that really helped me dial in my rhythm. So I remember just by ear trying to learn on a very hot summer all of the songs on that. And that was brilliant. It was one of my main sort of guitar educational moments and ear training, doing Speak of the Devil. And yes, Brad Gillis, he had no time at all, like an afternoon or something, to learn all those songs. And his playing's like super confident on it and just really, really good. And just really tight, very accurate. Excellent. I haven't heard Voice of Sand, no. So, Graham, so I'm thinking who else was good on a whammy bar? I've missed obviously Richie Kotzen. I think Richie Kotzen, early Richie Kotzen, right, because he was never off the whammy bar. That was definitely something that I copied. And I still do it now when I do my little whammy bar thing. It's very much that. Off his very first ever album. That's where I picked up a lot of my whammy was from that. And I remember when I was younger, I was always, my default thing was holding the whammy bar and playing. And using a lot of hammers only. So, Gramps once used the whammy bar but didn't stay in tune. I wonder what guitar have you got, Gramps? Have you got a Kiesel by any chance? Because you're saying I worry about tuning with a headless guitar. I don't. It usually turns out all right. I think, you know, my experience with Ibanez, that's probably been the best tune I've had, but the Kiesel have been great. Tim, I have to go out of town for a few days. I've been having some issues setting up my Mac Studio and it's been slowing me down a bit. Oh dear. I wonder what issues been having, Bella. Oh, no, it was a long time ago, Gramps, was it? That's fine. Oh, right, of course, yes. Sorry, I did get your emails, Gramps. It's just as soon as I leave here, believe it or not, I have like today, I have I'm just busy all the time. I have no contact once I go into work to do my therapy sessions. I have no contact with the outside world. It's just me and the patient, and I've got 3, and I usually have 3 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. So it gets really intense, and then basically by lunchtime my brain's melted. So like yesterday, it was such an intense day because I was working on autism unit. It was that hard the morning. I decided that to go for a curry in the afternoon. 12 o'clock, I was there in the restaurant ordering a curry. And I got a Peshwari naan with it as well, which was very, very naughty. I shouldn't have done that. But I do like the emails, Gramps. Do email me because I don't feel as lonely. And if I get the time, I will email back. Feel like whamming now. Well, I always do, as long as I'm reminded about it. Sometimes I don't. It's amazing, like when I'm playing, like how much stuff I just forget, and how much like little resources I draw upon. Sometimes when I'm improvising, so close and yet so far. Yeah. All right, let's have a look at the list I put here. So having skills, on the plus side of having skills, right, it is going to help you problem solve, all right? And so one of the coaching groups, because they've agreed on it, there is, because everybody's the same similar level with their production stuff, there is a similar skill deficit that's going on. So they agreed to, for a few weeks, instead of doing the kind of coachy stuff, would I do production techniques with them? So I do that. So everything that they've been experiencing since coming on the coaching program with me. So all of the problems that they've had that have been flagged up, that they may have. Then, because then I say if there's a problem, then try and search it out on YouTube. Once you know what it is, that's fine. And then try and get some resources on there. But then really what's happened is just to sort all of that out. I've just put a month aside for them. They've agreed to that. That every week they could come in with all of their things that they need to know. And I mean, a lot of it is usually mixing. Is what I find. So we've been doing a ton of mixing stuff. We've been doing a lot of stuff on template building, because template building is an important thing because it's a balancing act between utility, function, and creativity. And if you get too functional with it and too planny, that tends to kill the creativity. And then if you don't have enough planning into it, then that also kills off the creativity, you know, because what you don't want to be doing is just opening up an Ableton blank project, right, and then having to load in the same plugins, right, that you have to do for every channel, like the same, like the EQ every time. the same reverb every time, same delay, the same instruments, right? Because especially when you're focusing on a particular genre of music, it's just nonsense, isn't it? Like in the physical world, if and you've got a studio, every time you don't use the studio, you wouldn't unplug everything and then put it in a cupboard, would you? So I do it in the virtual world, and then when you want to do music, get everything out of the cupboard and plug it all in. You would just leave everything plugged in, wouldn't you? Is the sense of it. So I think like when we're template building, that's sort of like the foundational thing of it. But obviously in the virtual world and virtual cabling and all this kind of wonderful stuff that we've got, we can do a lot more than that. So, there are other problems that we can solve that can save us time. But then what we can also do is then create an environment that forces our thinking in one direction. And then that doesn't mirror creativity. So, we might have an idea in our head and think, I want this track to sound like X, right? Now, I've never thought of something and it's come out exactly the way that I've thought it ever. But what I am is like flexible on that journey towards that idea, which I'm never ever going to reach. So, the creative journey is it's never a straight line. It's you end up meandering because we're discovering what the music wants to be. We start with an initial idea. We become, we're conscious of that. We try to make something like it. It exists outside of our bodies. And then what happens is the feedback from that idea creates more ideas. And even though those ideas aren't the thing that we initially thought of, the key is to be flexible enough to just go, all right, I'm going to explore this route. And then you go down that route. It's like going off the map, isn't it? And then you'll get so far with that, you'll hit a dead end, but other ideas will happen, and then you'll go over somewhere else and you'll explore that route. And it's so the line's not straight. We're kind of all over the place, and we're over here now. Oh, we're back over here. Oh, I'm on the straight again. So we're just exploring around the idea, and that's how we want to be. And when you do that, that's when you start making music. That's when you start making things that are going to surprise yourself what you're capable of, and I love that. And I love one of the things I love going back to is that when I'm going through sort of splurges or stuff even in the sketchbook, and I think, I didn't do anything with that idea, but that is really good. And a lot of the time, it's a surprise, and I don't actually recognize myself. I don't actually. I think, oh wow, there's like loads of Dreamstream stuff, right? And I listen to it when we're doing the lives at Thomas. There's like loads of stuff. I'll just sort my hair out. There's loads of stuff off Dreamstream, and I'm like, whoa, I can't, that's me doing that, and I can't remember me doing that. It's like an entirely different person doing it. I think, oh, that's a really good tune, that. But at the time, I'll have thought, not releasing that. Not doing anything with that. That one's going in the bin. So that's the thing with sort of music, is you do tend to make a lot. And a lot of it that doesn't get wasted because every time you make a piece of music, you learn from making that piece of music, but certainly goes in the sketchbook. And I have that many ideas that you couldn't possibly do all of them. So it's a good problem to have. But yes, so having the necessarily having a good skill set will make you adaptable. So when you do have problems in a mix or something like that, you've got more techniques to and more resources to draw upon, and more awareness to fix things. So that's very handy. I mean, a crap example is auto tune. Say you want to auto tune a vocal and it's on a weird mode. Then you'd have that theory, wouldn't you, to be able to then auto-tune, because it'd be awful to be in a situation where you need to set it outside of the chromatic mode, and then now you're guessing out of about 60 different scales of what it could be. Wouldn't be a great situation to be in, but obviously if you know modal harmony, it's just look at the list, bang, that's it. We're in the Phrygian and the key is E, done. So that's good, isn't it? So having a bit of theory behind you is very, very important. And I think with theory with me, and what I've experienced with other players, it tends to, the thing that gets you through most things is your pentatonic scale and learning your modes, and that's it. And when I say learning your modes, right, all you have to do is just learn one scale in 12 different keys, and your modes contained in that, because we have, apart from the major scale, we'll have another six unique scales, and you've already learnt one of them. And then if you know your pentatonic scale, you've learned 5 of the 7 notes. So it's all a win. Hexatonic, you've now got 6, and then you're not bothering with that dreaded 4th if you're in the major key, or minor 6th. Avoid note, as they say. Although I don't avoid it, you can use it. You just got to think about how to phrase around it. Usually I think of it like a passing note. So problem solving. There is the personal growth side of skill learning as well. Sometimes when we're being creative, it's difficult to measure your performance a lot of the time, because sometimes the music that we're making can be very, very abstract, and we're trying to discover something. So it's quite difficult in a moment to see where our progress is. And some days, you can make something quite good, and other days it can be absolutely like terrible. And sometimes the progression of that isn't as obvious, like I can mix a track one day and it'll sound great, and then I can mix another and it just doesn't sound that. So sometimes I find the skill focus very difficult to measure. Having said that, when I do look at my productions going over time, what I would say is slowly, like, things get better and better and better. Whereas guitar, I think that's much more instantaneous. We can make, in guitar you can make measurable improvements every day, and I really like that. I really like setting a goal at the beginning of the week, and usually these things are done through micro practices. So there'll be something that I want to do, and it might be like playing in a key a lot more better, just or whatever, or might be some picking thing or legato thing, problem that I've had to do with string transitions. And then what I'll do is I'll make little micro practices, little 30-second, 1 minute exercises to do that when I've got a minute during the day to do that. And then what I'm doing is, the atomic habits thing is I'm just trying to focus in on every time I pick the guitar up, just trying to make a 1% improvement. And then I find over a week I can really feel the improvement, not just in that, but like in everything. So there's much more, like, in terms of the growth, it's bigger. Other things like in the skill set that I highly recommend is having a look at areas in your life where you've got a bit of dead time, and what could you do to improve your skills in that. And knowledge is important. Okay. I'll just catch up on the chat. Here we go. How do you stream through Ableton to video? All right then. Well, how I do that is stream from... Right, okay, so Ableton is just... It's where I plug my mic in. Because I'm wearing headphones. When I'm wearing headphones, I like to hear my voice, because when you got headphones on and you're just hearing your voice outside of the headphones, and there's no voice in the headphone, it's like really weird, and I struggle talking like that. So what I do is, like, the mic's plugged into the interface and it's going through Ableton as if you were going to record vocals. That's how that happens. There are 2 audio interfaces that I use. So I've got one which is the Quantum 2. So that's really fast latency on that. So that's what I use to monitor. So if I want to pick my guitar bend like that, I've got, usually an under 6 millisecond round trip, or just over that, which is quite decent. so I don't really feel the latency unless I'm putting ridiculous plugins, but the latency is really good at the minute. I've got that dialed in. And then I'm just going into another USB audio interface. It's another pre-Sonus. It's a USB 3 one, I can't remember what it's called. But I've got that, and that's the broadcasting one. So then everything goes out of the fast interface into the slower interface, which is the one that is then dialed into eCam, and then that broadcasts all of the audio, that brings all the audio together. And then you guys hear it. So that's how I do that, 2 audio interfaces. Not much of a trem user. My Strat is blocked. Fair enough. There are other ways around it. Is Logic better for streaming? They're all the same. Just use whatever audio interface you've got. Audio DAW. It doesn't matter. I mean, you don't even need that. You can use... because I keep forgetting to like set it up, but I mean it is set up, but I don't launch it because it can cause like latency issues sometimes when I don't want them. And that is let me think, what is it? Loopback. So loopback is just virtual wiring for your computer. So in other words, it's like a virtual mixer, and what I can do is I can bring in like YouTube, like internet sounds or anything else into the broadcast. So if I want Spotify and play DreamStream backing tracks, I would do that through loopback. Or if I wanted, audio from YouTube or anything like that, from Safari or whatever web browser you're using, then loopback would put all of those, brings all of those things together, and then I can monitor them on my headphones. And then if it's like jam tracks from YouTube, I can do that. But it does put a little tiny bit of latency on there, but it's manageable. Because I don't want it all the time when I'm not using it. So I'm just always, because when I'm creating music on these streams, which is the majority, I tend not to use it. But I did test it out a few months back, and it was great for like backing tracks. But then I was just getting sick of like what I was playing on, because it was just like really cheesy, horrible fusion tracks. And I was thinking, God, this is so not me. But good to practice to. The other advantage of using your DAW is, so I have a bit of a vocal chain on my mic. Actually, I wasn't sure about how the sound, but I had a listen the other day to one of the lives, and I thought, all right, yeah, it's sounding, the mic's sounding all right, actually. So I can show you a little bit about that. So in red for danger, is my voice, and all I've got on here, I ended up using this. I think this is a really good noise gate, and it's got a wicked name, the Cock Blocker, by Spectre Digital. And that's a really good, it's for guitar really, it's a really good heavy duty noise gate, but Polychrome really does it all for me. But I use it on this mic, and it is pretty good. You see it's quite forgiving, quite musical. You don't really notice it cutting off. It just does a good job. There you go, silence. Pro Q, bit of dynamic EQ, pulling some mids down. I do like the low end warmth of a voice, so I've put that in. So it's a bit more deeper. This round about 4K, 3.5K here, that emphasizes the consonants. So you get a bit more clarity in your voice, kind of doing a little boost there. And then I've put a tiny bit of air on, which is there. I mean, you're only talking 1 dB, just to lift it. And then we go into the SSL, and I've just put a little bit of 8K on there, with a 4 dB boost. And then what else have we got? That's it for the EQ, and then we've got some compression going on to give it that radio kind of vibe. There we go, and I'm back again. Pushed the wrong button. All right. Good night, Tim. Have a nice sleep. That's if you're going to sleep. And so I'm glad I put the work on the theory when I was younger, and I have trouble using video with Ableton currently, as I would like to make more music video content. Right, okay. I'm sure you'll work it out. I mean, it's, yeah. So, yep, theory is important, but there's not a lot of point in learning theory if you're not going to use it. That's the only thing I would say. So as long as you're playing it and it's under your fingers and you're actively using it, then it's all good. How about changing genres, right, to symphony or something without goddamn beats, right? Yeah, fair enough, Gramps, but I'm into my beats at the minute, you know. I'm not ready to grow up. Maybe later on. Having said that, remember there's that whole period I had in my life where... What's that ringing? Oh, come on. She left the phone ringing across the room. Anyway, there was a whole period of my life where I got into what would you call audio art. So when I was doing my masters, that was definitely not about beats or anything like that. I was somewhere else in the creative world doing that, inspired by music concrete. So we could do that, but it wouldn't be very exciting for people. It would be me talking a lot of nonsense, conceptual nonsense, and making something weird. But I like the beats, Gramps. The theory would fall under problem solving, and also your audio would. Let's just have a look. So, yeah. So I mean, the way it's set up is when you got your two audio interfaces set up, Ableton Live, you're just setting your mic up and everything as you would if you weren't broadcasting, right? And then that's done. And then, so you would just have the audio driver from the interface. It's the fast monitoring interface for your music, and you're playing all that kind of stuff. And then all you do is you plug two outputs from that into the second interface. And then the second interface is the one that you would select in your streaming software. And then that one would broadcast. And really, honestly, it's as simple as that. Yeah, Final Cut was doing what I was wanting it to do. I did a couple of videos using it. Not Final Cut iMovie, but I've got Final Cut now. So that's probably that. That's going to be the next thing for me, because that definitely is recurringly coming up. Why I need to boost the numbers and have a way of attracting more people like-minded who are into sort of my approach anyway, and benefiting from that. Then I am going to have to make some videos. I'm also going to have to make some videos of some shredding as well. It gets a bit complicated. Or what gets a bit complicated, Gramps? It doesn't. It's just, when you sit down and figure it out, it's all right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's where I picked it up from, actually. I probably saw that video. I can't really remember why I liked it. But it's quite good. You can use it in a sidechain mode as well. So it's it's really well thought out. And there's a hardware pedal. I don't think they make it anymore. Okay, and moving on with skills. What else did I put down? So personal growth. I'm currently using ADAP from the Apollo Twin to Scarlett. Right, okay, well that's all going to work, isn't it? So the Apollo Twin's a good interface. I used to have one of those. In fact, I still got one in the cupboard. So yes, right, personal growth. So that's important. So I was just touching upon this before. So sort of one thing I do is I'll audit my time, and where a lot of my time goes, it's actually in the car driving. So there must be about an hour and a bit, right? I'm in a car, and that's quite a chunk of time. So in the car, what could I be practicing? All right. When I'm really on it, what could I be practicing? How could I be doing something that's going to improve me? And the car, for me, obviously it's a car, it's a vehicle that takes me to where I want to go, but it's also a library. So I have Audible. I mean, everybody in the whole world should have Audible, right? And, I'm a real fan of audiobooks. And what I do is when I'm in the car is I listen to, a lot of the time, audiobooks. So just lately I actually bought the hard book as I got the Rick Rubin book, which was just like, I hadn't ever read it. I mean, it's only come out, it's only 2023, and I've been talking about all this stuff way before that. But the similarities have been absolutely breathtaking in what he talks about in that book and what I've been saying and what my coach has been saying to me. And what we've been doing in coach training is just so like similar to his thought process on how he does it. So, you can sit in the car and you can have somebody's life works telling you how they did stuff and telling you about the world as you drive to your destination. I think that's a brilliant way to spend your time. So, like in the car, I learn so much. The other thing I'll spend is I do like to listen to interviews with guitarists. I find that fascinating, especially when they talk about their creative process. And also, as you know, I've mentioned like listening to live performances and hearing how guitarists play when they're live compared to the recordings. So I love doing that. But I think the main sort of like lift for expanding my skills is in the car. And then the other thing that I'll do in sort of dead time, right, time that you wouldn't consider being able to do anything, is like these little micro practices. So you might be in your room not really doing anything. You might as well pick a guitar up and do 30 seconds, a minute, I have a metronome on my phone. I bought the full version actually. So like I use metronome, which looks like that. Good thing about this is it does intervals. So a lot of the time, if I push that button, that just clicks down. It just times 1 minute. So I'll just do an exercise for 1 minute. So I can do intervals, and then if I'm not happy, I can repeat it. And that's a great way to practice using that. So that's pretty essential using that. Which is one of my tips. Right, Enzo, it's fine. You can, use, as I say, it's always a resource. I can quickly just jump on. If I can quickly answer something, I will do. If it's completely off topic and I don't want to answer it, don't worry, I'll just say I'm not answering that. I could run the two interfaces, that way I should get an additional interface. Well, you just need two interfaces in total. A harmonica A harmonica, yeah, it fits in your pocket, doesn't it? So that's very handy. Just not an instrument I'm interested in, to be fair. I just don't like things I'm blowing. It's the same metronome, very good. You've got good taste in your metronomes. It's just very functional, isn't it? And it does the job. So having skills does make you more marketable. Okay, so if we lean into what I think is the dark side of skills, technically, if you have a lot of skills, then you can join the rest of the people all making tons of content on YouTube and getting thousands of followers for just solving problems that people haven't had. So you can do that once you got those skills. You can go, hey, you need to be doing this, because if you're not doing it, it's like wrong. And then quickly do a 30-second video where you do some production thing and you fix like a problem that you've invented that you think other people are going to have. That's one thing. Obviously, when you're a guitarist, there's like lots of Instagram stuff there. People absolutely shredding, playing their best 10 seconds that they've ever done in their life. So I've always joked about blow instruments. Fair enough. Oh God, I'm having a crap hair day today, honestly. Right, and I'm freezing. Okay, but this is important. What was I saying? So obviously, yeah, when you look at the amazing skills young guitarists have, like on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, it's quite staggering, isn't it? But there's so much of it, isn't there? And it's such a weird, like, to me, it's such an alien concept how the younger generation learn. But it's also quite cool in a way. I am glad, and I do sound like a lot of, Aaron Marshall. I was listening to an interview with him the other day, and Nick Johnson, and they all pretty Paul Gilbert. They all say the same things, They're all like, oh, I'm glad I grew up when I did, and like internet wasn't that great, because like now you can learn to be whoever you want to be. You're just not focusing on yourself. You can kind of copy and emulate other players, but you don't necessarily have the you're not always able to take those ideas and then repurpose them in your own musical context. So we tend to have like lots of like 10-second showy videos, and then when it comes to improvisation, a lot of players aren't that great at doing it. Yeah, so the young players are technically kicking ass, yeah, and they are. It's the standard is very, very high. But how many of them are writing lots of material? How many of them are like doing a lot of improvisation? It kind of whittles down a bit, I think. So we can have like lots of like showy 10-second pieces, but then what's happening after that? So I'm a little bit dubious. I look very military today, don't I? I shouldn't have wore this top. I couldn't see because it was still quite dark in the room. I didn't have all the lights on. Too many distractions. Yeah, I did a whole bit on habits and stuff in these videos about distractions, actually. You do improve very well, that's good. And so it's just focus, isn't it, and practice and using your metronome. But being really good and being marketable and putting your videos out there can, create a lot of interest, and from there you could easily start teaching guitar and start doing other business opportunities from that. That is for sure. That's worked out very, very well for me, especially with the coaching. So having those showy skills will attract a certain crowd of people, and you are therefore marketable. inspiration and motivation I've got down as well. Inspiration and motivation. I suppose the more you know and the more skills you have, the bigger resource you're drawing from. But I think the thing is with that is it's a conscious resource. So there are certain like tools and techniques that you'll have that you can use consciously to hopefully bring the good stuff out from the subconscious, the decisions and ideas that we are unaware of may surface through that. So that's an important one. Yeah, Pliny is one of your favourites. Alan Watts has a great audiobooks of his lectures. Gramps, who's Alan Watts again? I need to know. I'll make a note of it. Philosophy. Inspiration is the big one for me. Tell me more, Enzo. Tell me more about what are the are there problems with inspiration? Or are you just inspired all the time? Big time genius of spiritual stuff, right? I'll check him out. At least I'll try to. So what are the things I've got on my list? Inspiration and motivation, which I just touched upon. Networking and community, I suppose, like having skills like showy skills like playing guitar. You can go and do like YouTube shorts and things like that, and that'll make you more marketable. And obviously there's the whole thing about being technically proficient, which I've pretty much covered. So I think I've covered all of my points there anyway. The strip t-shirt, Pat Metheny. What, my strip t-shirt? I do have one. It's like a Kurt Cobain kind of thing, which I never wear it because the problem with like stripes going across is you look fatter than you are. So sometimes, like if I've been pigging out, I don't like to wear it. And I hate that top with the sleeves. But wasn't a Pat Metheny wears one. But I think it's I think those striped tops are a dangerous thing to wear. They look great with a jacket if you cover them up. Then having the stripes looks really good. But like if you take your jacket off or something like that, it doesn't work. All right, so I think as long as you have the skill set, inspiration is the most important thing. I would say just being inspired is the most important thing. However, we can't just be inspired all the time. I mean, it just doesn't work for me, and I don't really see it. It's just. I think it doesn't matter who you are, right? Inspiration is completely unreliable. And I like to think of music making as a job. And one thing you got to do in a job is be reliable, haven't you? You have to turn up. So regardless of inspiration, you have to sit and do the thing. And then eventually you are rewarded with the ideas. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, it was the horrendous. You're saying, don't worry, I sent you a meme on IG. I was worried that you would take it the wrong way. No, I didn't take it the wrong way, but it was a horrendous picture of a granny with frazzled, bleached hair. And I was like quite shocked, and I was thinking, God, does Enzo think my hair's like that? And is that what I look by? She was like hunched, wearing a very similar top, in an office. So you didn't offend me. But it was nightmarish. I haven't broke out Pam lately. Yeah, Graham. So yesterday, were you on the stream last night? So last night I put the Pamela top on, okay, because it's pink, isn't it? The one I've got. And I came down here and I sat with a pink top on, and it just looked totally wrong with everything in this room, the whole colour scheme. So I don't think it's going to be difficult for her to make an appearance unless I get Pam on a black top. So the only thing that worked, and then I got Spice Girl with cats, which sometimes works. But I wasn't in the mood, and I was thinking, right, I want the Spice Girls and cats probably for the Saturday stream. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to have to wear Grace Jones again. So Grace Jones has been getting a lot of a lot of use, but yeah, so it's going to be Saturday Spice Girls with cats as well, so Pamela Anderson won't be on. So I think Spice Girls and cats. However, I'm going to go back to vlog, and I'm going to have to order a couple more designs, I think. So, but I'm not sure what I'm going to go for, Gramps. Because you got one as well, didn't you, Funk? You got a Pamela Anderson one. So I'll have a think. I'm not sure who I'm going to get. There was a Whitney Houston one I quite like a young Whitney Houston vaporwavy type thing. That was quite good. I'm trying to think what other ones was there. There was a few EastEnders characters, which is just a soap in the UK. Whitney Houston. I think there's a Ruby Wax one. I'm thinking who's on that website that I've looked at. I'll come up with something anyway, but I need to get a couple. Oh, he's brilliant. So the artist's Jock Mooney. So I don't know if you'll have other stuff on the internet, Jock Mooney, but he's incredibly. I mean, he does that. That's his side thing. But I know he's done animation for a while ago. He did an animation for a Coldplay video, and he's a sculptor. Originally, that's what he is. He's a sculptor, and he makes these incredible, I don't know how to describe them, cartoon, Chinese, Oriental blobs. He's also a musician as well. And I think there's a gallery here, a contemporary gallery called Vane Gallery, and they supported him for a lot of years as stuff. But yeah, as I say, he's incredibly talented. So I've known him for years. Not sure about my pouring technique. What's all of this with the elbow? Because I'm cold and struggling. So, there we have it. No, I never vibed to the angelic upstarts. Right, it was from the county I live in on the government website in Florida. I'm a bit of a joker. I was so worried after I sent it. I love you, and I didn't mean it that way, but I'm a big Pat Metheny fan. But that's fine, Enzo. Don't worry about it. There wasn't any. You didn't offend me. But I was concerned about maybe how my hair was coming across. So no, I never vibed really the angelic upstarts. Maybe I should have. I think punk-wise, it was only Sex Pistols and a bit of the Dead Kennedys. So there we go. So I think today that about concludes my skill focus. Don't overskill yourself. Always use your skills in context with your creativity. I think is the main thing for me. Yeah, I'll Google it. I'll check it out. And so. So yeah. And I hope that's been useful today. So tomorrow, I haven't got my list, so I don't know what tomorrow is. I think tomorrow we're going to talk about community. I think that's going to be the thing, community. So I'll say a little bit about that. Don't worry about it, Enzo. I'm completely... I can't spell anything. But I knew the thing is, it doesn't really matter as long as I know what you mean. So are there any more questions from anybody? Anybody want to say anything? Anybody want to ask me anything while I'm here? And also, if there are, if anybody wants me to talk about any other subject areas to do with music and productivity, either send me an email or, if there's something now that you're thinking about, mention it in the chat. So if there's any particular music-related subject matter that I might know about and have experience in, you never know. It might be worth just giving it a mention because it might inspire me to talk about it. Other than that, I'm going to enjoy my coffee. So yes, tomorrow will be about community. Saturday, apparently, for now, there is going to be McLaughlin Hutch Live on Saturday. I just don't know what time. Hi, Des. Good to see you on here, calling in. So Saturday, there should be a live. That's you're a bit late, yeah. Not to worry. It's a 6:15 start at the minute. At some point, I'll go back to what time? 5:30 in the morning. Because I do like the extra earliness. I'm missing that extra 45 minutes. But I'm just in a situation where I just can't get up that early at the minute. Because there are other people to consider. What else was I talking about? Oh yeah, and then Sunday optional. I might do a little studio hangout thing in the morning at 11 o'clock, and then Monday we're back to the usual streams. We're not to the end of the month yet. I wonder what date will it be on next Monday? So I've still got. I think I'll still be talking about stuff that week as well. There's more things to cover. I just haven't got. I'm a bit lost because I haven't got my note. Oh, here it is. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, so I've got community. So I'll be talking about the ideas behind creativity and how it is modularized and how that can be done. So looking at creativity, it's a bit like a template in the door. All the things that are painful, that are repetitive tasks that you always go through and experience, how we can create conditions not to experience that or experience a little of it. So that's one. And then I'm just going through in more detail the machine. So splurge, sketchbook, discovery, drafts, done, release. In fact, actually, that's all part of the modularizing creativity. So we'll be talking about the machine, in other words. But I'll spend a good bit of time doing that. All right, and so, well, if we see you, that'd be great. But it's great having you on. So that's great, it's all good, isn't it? And then on Tuesday, I had the idea, right? So Tuesday, we're going to everybody who's on here on Tuesday, you need to be on the stream for 6:15 if you can make it, because I'm going to do some free writing with you. So we're going to do a free writing exercise together, and it's going to be based on music, money, and mindset. So I'm going to take you through a visualization exercise. So you'll need pen and paper, and I'm really excited for everybody because I mentioned doing this before in the past. So I would really love it if everybody really gets on board with this and kind of has the pen and paper, and I'll take you through the free write, which will be very revealing, and you'll get loads from it. Just it'll not be the best TV in the world because there'll be a lot of silence and then just me prompting. But I think it'll be a good thing to do. So that's a free write. And then we've got creating the conditions for flow, 17 triggers, and then having a look at the ones we can definitely use in our music making. So that'll be a good one. Then I've got one, what exists. So this is like just looking at in more depth about subconscious, conscious, and what exists. So that's another thing we'll be doing. We've got one on zones of experience, because I haven't officially done that. I'll be talking about craft versus art, which is really important, especially with AI. So trying to get us to think about who we are and what our value is in the world, and what skills we could potentially focus on, and let AI do all the donkey work for us. And then we've got a talk about wins, problems, and opportunities, and how David Deutsch has influenced that. And I think on the same day we're doing objective perfection. That sounds good, doesn't it? Objective perfection. And I'll have to re-listen to the lecture. But again, I'll be citing David Deutsch's lecture on why is a flower beautiful, and then seeing how we can apply that to our music. So objective perfection, how could we make something in the whole world, make a piece of music that everybody in the whole world would agree is amazing? Having said that, not all flowers are beautiful, are they? That's a rough idea. I'll have to develop some of those ideas, and actually some of them when I'm looking through, I'm thinking, oh God, I don't know if I can make a full thing out of that. But that should do the rest of the month. And then there's all of the talks there. Everything's named correctly. So if anybody wants to then, as I always say, use the channel as a resource, there's my contribution. It's a bit like a very disorganized Rick Rubin's book. But all the information's there, like some of it anyway. I mean, the main thing is it's, it's great practice for me to talk through these things as well. And, that's how we get confident at things, isn't it? Just being comfortable in our own skin and practice. And not really worrying too much about what the outcome is. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like everybody's worried about the results, and actually what we need to worry about is what's actually happening in the now. That's the main thing for us creatives. Now, thinking in the future is not going to help, is it? And it certainly doesn't help me when I'm playing guitar and I'm improvising, thinking about the results of something when I haven't even done anything. It's the route to to playing everything completely wrong. So it's good as well because I've been meaning to do this for a while, and I'm just glad I can get it all out of the way in a month and do all these talks, and then I can go back to making music. And I think also by doing this, it's going to give everything else that I'm doing in the studio sessions, in the morning sessions, more context, because I'll be able to refer back to other things that I've talked about. So I hope that's all right. I know, obviously, there's people on here who are very experienced musicians and stuff. So, you know, and I know like there'll be people on here that like they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like what, you know, it's quite obvious what you're saying, Tim, and that kind of thing. But that's cool. And a lot of it is just, you know, it is just common sense. But sometimes we do struggle, and stuff like this can really, really help. Gramps is give a listen to right. Solidarity. I'll try and remember. Okay. So that's it for this morning, and I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. Thank you. All right then. Bye.